Where's the conclusion in 22?
But this practice clearly should be acceptable.
This practice should be acceptable. Why does this person think that this practice should be acceptable?
Because just the threat of the competition will prevent other companies to wait.
I think the author thinks that if it raises the price, if it doesn't raise the price to unreasonable level, it's acceptable. I think it's linking those two.
Well, right now the premise is that the mere threat, right, will prevent the company from raising its prices to unreasonable levels. It doesn't ever talk about what is or isn't acceptable, right? It doesn't say that that is acceptable, but apparently this author thinks that because that's the only reason given for the idea that it's acceptable. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it because the company will not raise its prices to unreasonable levels. Assumption, if a company doesn't raise its prices to unreasonable levels, then whatever they're doing is acceptable or fine. Right? So we need an answer choice that basically says something like that. What answers are we debating?
I put D.
I put D also.
Okay. D. No, by the way, this is a necessary assumption question, right? The argument, or which one following is an assumption that the argument depends on. So we're asking ourselves what absolutely needs to be true. Does it have to be true that it is only competition or the threat of competition that keeps companies from raising prices? We have to assume that there are no other ways.
I don't think that's necessary.
What if there are other ways? What if you could also keep a company from raising prices by yelling at them?
But it says, but this practice clearly should be acceptable because even if it's competitive to other business, the mere threat would prevent the company from raising prices.
So we know that this practice will prevent them from raising their prices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter if other things will prevent them from raising their prices as well?
No.
But it says that it should be acceptable.
Yes.
Because of the threat of competition.
Okay. Because the threat of competition or the mere threat of competition will prevent it from raising its prices. Right? Like that thing, the threat of competition, is sufficient or necessary to prevent them from raising their prices? Sufficient. It's enough. As long as they feel threatened, they're not going to raise their prices. So, therefore, this practice is acceptable. Right? Now, if someone comes in the room and says, wait a sec, hold on. There are other things that could prevent a company from raising its prices. Would we care?
No.
Would that change things? Would that mean that now this thing is no longer sufficient?
No.
It would still be sufficient, right? Like, if the threat of competition prevents them from raising their prices, and yelling at them prevents them from raising their prices, that's not like it could be possible that there are many things that prevent them from raising their prices. So we don't really care if there are other things that prevent them from raising their prices, as long as this thing also prevents them from raising their prices.
Okay.
Therefore, answer choice D is not a necessary assumption because we don't have to assume that it's the only thing that keeps companies from raising their prices. We don't have to assume that there aren't other things. Because even if there are other things, it just doesn't matter. So we don't need to get rid of those things. Answer choice E, any pricing practice that does not result in unreasonable prices should be acceptable. It's a really strong answer choice for a necessary assumption, but that is essentially what's going on here because this person said, hey, it's fine because it will prevent them from raising their prices. So this person thinks that the mere fact that they won't raise their prices is enough to say that it's acceptable.
If they do raise their prices, then they're going to be acceptable.
Well, that'd actually be a false contrapositive because it's saying if you don't raise your prices, then it's acceptable. It doesn't mean if you do, it's unacceptable. But this person thinks that the mere fact that they won't raise their prices is enough to conclude that it's acceptable. That's all we needed to know. And that's basically what E is saying. Any other questions on this one? Okay.